Today, we're making Southern Comfort in a bowl. It is a great bowl of soup that you're going to enjoy every single bite. Come along with the Casual Culinary. Today's recipe is Southern Comfort in a bowl. This thing is going to be packed full of flavor, but kind of bring in some of those Southern tastes for those of you from the South. So we're going to start today, empty soup pot. Be sure you get a nice pot that has a lot of base to the bottom of it so that you don't burn the goods before the soup is cooked. But we're going to get the fire going on our stove. I have two types of meat. Both are sausage. We have one that's a hot sausage and the other that's a mild sausage. But you can really use anything you want. It could be sweet, it could be mild, or it could be hot. And I just got a pound of each, but it does have 2 pounds of sausage. So we're going to get that into the pan and start browning that up. I've had the sausage sitting out to hopefully speed up the process a little bit. I hate putting in cold meat into a hot oven or into a hot bowl or even on a hot grill because it tends to cook the outside too quick and leaves the cold in the middle. But for this, since we're browning it up, it's going to take a little bit of time. Notice I'm not putting any oil in the pan because there's a lot of fat in this sausage, and that fat's going to render out, which is going to give us all of the stuff we need to keep this moist and stop it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. I have it on kind of a medium high right now. I'm going to turn it down, kind of let it go a little lower and slower. And this should probably brown up in maybe about 5 to 7 minutes. The meat has finally browned. We're going to have to drain this, and then we are next going to work on some of the aromatics. So I'm just going to empty out or drain some of the excess fat over here in the sink. All right, and that's good enough. We can leave a little bit in there because we're going to be putting in some onions and some garlic and some herbs. So we want it to go somewhere, but I'll probably add some avocado oil or extra virgin olive oil in there to get that going. So we're going to go ahead and put this onto the paper towel because there's probably still some excess grease in there, but just get it emptied out. Soups are such a great meal, especially during those cold times. It's not very cold in Southern California much, but we're just starting to see the seasons change, and it's been rainy here for the last couple of days. So I thought, what a good way to go forward with making some soup. And actually, this is not my original recipe. This is from my friend Kathy, who was both kind and beautiful for letting me do this. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kathy, for letting me share this recipe. The name of the recipe that I go with is Southern Comfort in a Bowl because it tastes like Southern Comfort. It just tastes like those flavors you get if you've ever traveled down south. Something that just tastes like it's been cooking all day. All right, I'm going to turn this back up. We're going to cook some onions. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil in here just to give it a little where to go, maybe a tablespoon. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that on medium. And we're going to stir that around until the onions kind of turn translucent. Just a little quick saute, probably about 5 minutes. So I'll leave that on there. Over here I have 6 cloves of garlic that I've minced. We're going to add that. You don't want to add that too soon because then it can burn, and there's nothing worse than the taste of burned garlic inside something. So we're just adding it to the onions that are already in there with a little bit of the oil. The big thing that we're going to add next is fresh herbs. And this goes so much better with fresh herbs. So please, please, please take the time, buy the fresh, cut it up. Yes, it would work with the dried. I've tried it with the dried before. It didn't come out near as good. So we have rosemary, and you could do this to taste, 1 to 2 teaspoons. I have 2 teaspoons of fresh cut rosemary. And then I also have 2 teaspoons of fresh cut thyme. So those are the 2 big herbs that go in there. And I'm telling you, fresh is where it's at. So we're going to let that kind of saute up for a minute and get those aromatics. It's going to make this smell so good. In fact, if you're in the kitchen, it already smells fantastic. But adding these flavors, again, this isn't hard. We're adding flavor, but no pressure. So far, we've just cut up an onion, sauteed it, browned some meat, put in some herbs. That's all we're doing here so far. All right, I'm smelling that. I'm smelling the garlic. I'm smelling the herbs. We're going to go dump the sausage back in. It's already been cooked. It's already been drained of any excess grease. Right back in the pot. Next comes black-eyed peas or black-eyed beans. Sometimes it can be hard to find those at your local grocery store, but just take a look. I went to Ralph's, and that's where I found mine. These have been drained and rinsed because they come in a broth, and that broth can be, or brine, it can be salty. It can give that taste of metal that was in the can. So it adds a little bit of starch if you keep a little of the liquid and a little bit of the salt, but there's so much flavor going on in here. I decided it would be better to just drain it. And this is 3 cans of the black-eyed peas. So 3 cans, black-eyed peas, drained and rinsed. And get those incorporated. Like I said, really hearty. This soup is going to taste so good, like it's been cooking all day. You won't need much to feel like you have had a lot. We are going to add 1 can of Rotel tomatoes in there. I did not drain this. This is the whole can with the juice. And then to give all of those flavors somewhere to go, I am putting in 1 full box of chicken stock. And we will stir to incorporate. And then we're going to just let this sit for like 15 minutes, coming up to a nice boil before we continue on, where we finish off the soup with a little bit of cream, heavy whipping cream, a little bit of lemon juice, and some kale. And then we just set the spice and flavoring right, and we are going to eat. That's incorporated. I'm going to put the lid on there and put that up to about a medium and get it going for a little bit of a simmer. The soup is just coming up to a little bit of a simmer. On my stove, this particular burner has a lot of burners. That's like the high burner on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move mine over because I think I can get it even a little lower on this one. So I'm going to move that down to a pretty good low. And we're going to leave it for about 15 minutes. And at the end of 15 minutes, we're going to put in some kale. And then there's a little bit of cream coming in at the end, a little bit of lemon juice. We'll adjust the seasonings as needed, and we'll be good to go. So we're going to leave this onto a low for about 15 minutes, and we'll be back. It's been 15 minutes, and the soup has been simmering. Oh, if you guys could just smell this. Whew, it smells so good. All right, we are going to add the kale in and let that wilt for a few minutes. Again, I switched sides on the stove because I feel like this burner is a little less heat than the other one that's high powered. Right here we have the kale. I've already cut it up in advance. It's about a half a batch of kale. I am not necessarily a kale eater when I eat it by itself, but I promise you in this soup, give it a try. But if you don't like it, you could probably put in spinach, parsley. I wouldn't put cilantro in because it's got such a crazy different flavor. But this is going to wilt down. It looks like it's going to overpower the soup. It will not. I can promise you that. So we're going to stir it in there. And then we're going to wait about 5 minutes. And you will see little strands or ribbons of it, but you won't see it near as much. But it adds so much flavor, and it adds a lot of nice color to that soup. By the way, when I let the simmering on the soup take place, I left the lid on. You want to leave the lid on because if you leave the lid off, a lot of that soup is going to evaporate, a lot of the liquids, and leave you with less actual soup or liquid. So leave the lid on. I'm again to leave this to be wilted. I'm probably going to put the lid on, let it go for about maybe 3 minutes, and then all we have left is the cream and the lemon, and we'll be good to go. The kale is just about finished with kind of wilting a little bit. You can see the color. I've changed the camera to be able to be reflective of the burner that I have it on. So if you're noticing the camera switch, that's what's going on. And we are going to put in 8 ounces of heavy whipping cream. That's where we're going to get that nice creamy flavor. And we are even going to add the juice of about 2 tablespoons of lemon. I have a lemon tree outside. I was able to just freshly squeeze my lemon, but you can just get lemon juice from the store and that would work just the same. And we're going to give that a little stir. And you can see how that affects the consistency. Look at how creamy that is. Again, the smells are going off in here. It is so good. I'm going to turn up the heat. I want it to get a little simmer going again, but once you add the cream, you don't really want it to give a boil. At that point, it can start breaking down the actual cream, and you don't want that to have happen. So simmer is fine. Boiling, no, no. And then we're just going to add some salt and pepper, adjust the seasonings as needed, and give this a fantastic taste. The cream has been incorporated into the soup. I'm going to give it a last stir, ladle it up, and let's try a bite. Here we go. I like to get you could make this more of a stew consistency and put some less liquid in, or you could leave it as more of a soup. I kind of like it as more of a soup, but it's definitely got the thickness and the flavors going on. All right, let's give this a try. Look at everything that's in there. You can see the beans or black-eyed peas. You can see the meat that we did, a lot of that herb. And again, that kale, you see how much that kale has wilted down? But there's going to be so much going on in here because it's going to be both savory. It's also going to be a little spicy from the spicy sausage that we put in there, but it's a little mild. Now, if you wanted to kick this up and make it even spicier, you could use the spicy Rotel. So you can curtail this recipe to be almost anything you want. You could use just mild sausage if somebody didn't want it hot, or you could just change it to the sweet sausage. So let's give this a bite and see how it comes out. Oh. This takes me to like cold winter, sitting in a cabin, sipping that soup. Such big, bold flavors. I'll probably add a little salt to the mixture to make it a little more salty. The spice level is perfect for me. It is so creamy. And the best thing about the soup is it's going to get better every time you have it, because if you don't finish the bowl today or you don't finish the batch today, you put it in the fridge, it ends up letting those flavors combine even further and making it even better. So fantastic. I hope you give this a try. I really want to hear some comments on what you're doing or how you like it, and I would love to get some new recipes. So please subscribe to the channel, like the episode, and please pass this on to your friends. I really appreciate all of the interaction that you guys have given us so far and hope there's more to continue. And always remember, keep it casual.